Back to work on the 50 today. Guess what? Yeah, LS is in. Let's go. So in order to make what you just saw happen and everything fit nicely, there's a bunch more stuff that we got to cut out, get rid of, make clearances for. So let me show you what the plan is on that. All right, as you can see, that's the transmission cross member. It's kind of like a K member almost, like it shoves back, but it's riveted in the frame. So I'm just gonna cut it off for now, and then when I pull the frame out from underneath the car, I'll clean all that up. But I need to make room because I wanna make sure I can get the 4L80 in here at the same time. And obviously that is definitely not enough room for a 4L80 to fit in. So I'm not sure how much I gotta cut out yet, but I did take out the access panels out of the car. So that kind of gives me a starting point. I think that if I just kind of start here maybe and go down and back, I'll take a couple measurements and kind of figure out a good eyeball of what I'm thinking for how much I got to chop out of this thing. And then we'll go from there. Not gonna lie, I was trying to be pretty civil with this thing, trying to grind out the rivets, and I'm sure if I worked at it more, I would be able to pop those out. But, I mean, I have one of these. So, you know what? We're just gonna cut until we don't have to cut anymore. That's the plan. I don't know if you caught that or not, but we started on fire a couple times. Not a big deal, just kind of, you blow it out. It's fine. The more I work on this car though, the more dirt and dust and crap fall out of it. So I think that's a good thing. Eventually it's gonna have to run out, right? So that's the plan, just keep banging on stuff and starting it on fire until there's no more stuff to fall out of the car. That is a goal of mine. But as you can see, we got the cross member out. That is awesome. I am gonna reinforce the chassis when I get to it, when it's out. It's a part of like the cross member kit. Comes with a couple of tubes that go like, so you'll see it when we get to it. I'm getting ahead of myself again. But now I'm gonna go ahead and clean up more a little bit on the frame, get more of those brackets and stuff out of the way and go from there. I lied. I knew I said I wasn't gonna worry about it, but I totally worried about it. It's like, I'm just gonna do it now, get it done with. Yeah, those are all the brackets and stuff that were riveted to the frame. Took a good 2.5 hours to get all that crap out of there. It was difficult. Messy job, especially when you're laying on your back, throwing sparks, dirt pile of all the crap that keeps falling out from underneath the car. But next, now that we got that out of the way and I don't have to worry about it anymore, engine placement. I took some measurements and I have an AC unit right down there, right? Center line to the edge of that is 11 inches. Center line to the edge of this is 11.25. But I need it to sink past here. So I think I'm gonna notch this out and then weld it back together because it's a boxed frame. It's 2 pieces and the bottom piece is welded to the C-channel piece. So I think I can safely cut that out and then weld that to it. And that'll give me enough clearance for the AC so I can drop the engine in. And I don't think that I have to move my firewall back or widen it or anything because measuring an inch out from the back of the block forward puts the front of the engine literally like right here. We gotta love an LS, right? So I think that's more than enough weight bias towards the back. I mean, it's not completely past, but it's better than most. So I'm gonna run it. That way I don't have to do a bunch of work to the firewall. I do have to clearance for the 4L80E. So I'm gonna take some more measurements on that and maybe pre-cut some of that because I want to slap the two together when I shove it in. That way I know, you know, like where everything has to go, and then I'll do my motor mounts. Speaking of motor mounts, this is the kit that I went with. It's from Dirty Dingo. I've never used it, but it looks pretty solid. It's super beef. So this part we're gonna weld to the frame after making whatever clearances and notches and angles and cuts that we need to make in order to make sure that it fits up right. And then it basically, you know, bolts to the motor mounts with poly bushings. Comes with the hardware, but it also it slides. So once it's on the block, if you have to do a little bit of fine tuning, you have more than enough room to play with that. So that's why I really like this kit, and it should go really well. There we go, both sides lopped off, and then both sections are welded together. Didn't go very well. I think there's a lot of contaminants on the back side of these things. So it wasn't pretty. That's why I ground them down nice and flush. They're gonna hold up just fine because before they're just, you know, spot welded together. I think a whole weld, that'll be a lot stronger. Should work out just fine. So now, yeah, let's just put it in there and see where it sits. All right, so this is taking a lot of time, to be honest with you, but I want to make sure I get this right. Here are the issues I'm running into. Obviously, my AC compressor, I have it resting right up against the frame rail right now. That's no bueno, so we got to clearance that just a little bit. So maybe I'll just like cut a section out of it and flip it and then re-weld it in so it's a nice scoop. Didn't mean to flick you off there. It's square. I know that because I got my straight edge here. And you can just barely, let me screw this up for a second. You can just barely see the edge of the hole there. Same thing on the other side there. Measure, measure, measure. It's at a 1 degree rake back, but the chassis is at a 2 degree rake down. So that gives me 3 degrees of play in it, if that makes sense. Either way, you just want it a little bit back. And then I'm really, really tight against the firewall here. So I think I'm going to just kind of notch this out, push it in, maybe just heat it up and beat it in. Try to make it look good. We'll see how that goes. If it doesn't look good, cut it out. Other than that, frame, the motor mounts here, actually I had to cut a ton of it off, and I still got to make up the motor mount that goes to the frame, but obviously I wanted to get this set in place. That's what you just saw me do. But man, it's stressful, not gonna lie, but we're getting there. But I'm gonna lock it in. This is where it needs to be, so I'm gonna lock it in. I'm gonna make up my frame mounts there, bolt them to that, and then tack weld that in, make all my marks of everywhere that I need to clearance, pull the engine out, and then make those clearances. So the engine is back out. Went ahead and fully welded in the engine mounts that I made fit. And then on the frame here, I clearanced it in order to make sure that I had plenty of room for the AC unit to have slight movement around, because before, like I said, it was literally resting on this frame rail. So I basically just took a piece of angle iron and made it fit, basically. It was a lot of freaking work in order to just get that little notch in there, but this car will not have AC. So yeah, that had to be there, and that work had to be done. I didn't do the firewall yet, but I do want to throw the engine in just to see all my clearances and stuff like that, and then call this one a wrap. Oh yeah, how sweet is this? Oh, it looks so good. I'm so happy. Oh, as I trip and fall, the way this turned out, it was so much work just to make sure that that engine is exactly where it needed to be. But if you look, so that's the center line. Like the majority of this engine is behind the front axle. So the weight distribution on this car is gonna be insanely good. Like I'm gonna guess 55-45. It'd be interesting to scale it once it's all done, but man, that's awesome. You can see I got plenty of clearance now with the AC unit, with this notch here, which means I was able to like move it over so the engine is perfectly centered. Manifolds that I actually welded those on. Those are V-band clamps on some cast steel manifolds. Got the V-band clamps from Motion Raceworks, and then the cast manifolds are just some eBay specials, but those are gonna work out sweet. I mean, they dump straight down in between the frame rails like that. So I shouldn't have any clearance issues there. I didn't do the firewall yet. I'll do that later, because obviously I got to do a lot more work to the firewall than just that. Yeah, so good. Another dirty one. Oh gosh, really dirty. Like I said before, if you guys made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Consider hitting that subscribe button. I mean, we got an LS engine in a 1950 Chevy Deluxe. Not to mention, we're gonna be putting an LSA blower on top of that. Oh, it's gonna be so good. So you wanna tune in for that. So subscribe, hit that like button if you like what I'm doing here. A lot of work, but a lot more work to go. So thanks, guys.